Yo, what is going on, everybody? My name is Mike, and welcome to TrendSpider Live once again. Today, we're going to be watching out for the FOMC minutes that are going to be coming out here in about just 8 minutes so far. So I do have my SPY chart open, of course. Did just draw this trend line that we bounced perfectly off of this morning. And if we go into the intraday chart, you can see it has been pretty much a wild day so far. But if you're out there in the audience, please say what's up. Um, Tell me how you're doing, where you're from. Thank you so much for joining. But as I was saying, if you look at the intraday 15-minute chart that I have pulled up here, you can see we started pretty much at the high of day, and we had a nice decline about 1% from the top to the bottom, basically start of the day. Then we tanked 1% right at the open. Then after that, we pretty much came right back up there, retracing almost all of it. So it's been a pretty decent day if you've been trading futures or something like that, trading the SPY, whatever else you're trading. Pretty volatile day. From San Francisco, what's up, Ken? Hello, Blake, SJD News. Glad to see all of you guys in the audience today. And yeah, if you guys didn't know or haven't seen, you don't follow us on Twitter or X, definitely go ahead and follow us on X, subscribe on YouTube. But we just released here at TrendSpider, honestly, one of the coolest things that I've ever seen us release at TrendSpider, and honestly, in the modern financial software world in general, is our new Sidekick AI. So you can access it at the top right of your screen right here. And basically what Sidekick is it's TrendSpider's new financial LLM, and it's connected to all of the financial data that we already pay for, which is insane because we have so much data. And the fact that it can connect to all this means it can build charts and graphs for you out of company fundamentals, pull from SEC filings. It has access to all of the unusual options activity that it can analyze for you. And it's honestly insane, you guys. So before the FOMC minute starts here, I did have a prompt that I wanted to send it. Let me pull it up real quick. It's actually one of the really cool use cases of TrendSpider's Sidekick. I'm just going to have my SPY daily chart open. And then in Sidekick right here, I'm going to type this prompt. I'm just going to say, mark the last 5 FOMC meetings and the last 5 FOMC minutes releases on my current chart. Now I'm just going to hit enter and just give it a second here. And it should just go ahead and pretty much find, the last 5 FOMC minutes and FOMC meetings and just plot them on my chart, which is going to give us a little bit of insight into what happened in the last ones. See how it works. It is still in beta, but I mean, honestly, it does work pretty well. As you can see, in just that little bit amount of time, it's still okay. Yeah, I just added them all right there. I'll just go ahead and minimize it right up there. And now, as you can see on my chart, it has perfectly plotted all of the last 5 FOMC meetings and minutes. So as you can see, the last meeting was right here. It was on like the 29th and 30th, and it marked it there. And that marked the start. Well, not really the start, but it did mark a pretty good decline there at our last FOMC meeting. The other FOMC meeting here around June kind of marked the bottom of this trend line. It's kind of interesting. We've been actually bouncing on this trend line for the last FOMC minutes and meetings. So yeah, that's one thing that TrendSpider's Sidekick can do for you. Pretty simple stuff right there. But let me go ahead and reopen it again here, because honestly, guys, you can use this to do so much stuff. And you don't really even have to think anymore or like do your own research. Like honestly, like going back and finding all of these FOMC minutes and meetings dates would take you, a decent amount of time, which TrendSpider can now just do for you with just a basic prompt. Just do it for me, basically. The power of AI is now on TrendSpider. It always has been, but this is honestly one of the best releases that I've seen for it lately. And then now I'm going to have it tell us what happened in those last meetings. So I'm going to say, like, what can you tell me about the 3 most recent FOMC meetings and meetings releases? And this time I'm actually going to use a different personality. So that was just a neutral analyst that I just used, but I want to get kind of yelled at this time. So I'm going to use our Karen model, our personality, and we'll see what Karen has to say about the last 3 FOMC meetings and minutes. She's probably not going to be happy because she always yells at you, which is kind of funny and good. Reporting live at 2. Today at 2. Now, this is our only live today, but on Friday, we're going to have a couple more lives for the Jackson Hole meeting, and then we're going to be having a webinar. So, well, I don't know, 2 Eastern is, I don't know if you mean Eastern, but yeah, it's basically 2 right now, I think. But anyway, I just asked the Sidekick AI, and real quick, while the FOMC minutes are about to drop here in 2 minutes, let's go back. I'm actually going to go to like the 5-minute chart so we can see what's going on. I have the intraday volume by price plotted on my chart, and then I have the previous day's levels custom indicator as well on there. And so we'll see what the minutes drop does. But anyway, let's go and take a look at what happened in the last FOMC meetings. So as you can see, all I did was just say, just tell me about the 3 most recent FOMC meetings and meetings releases. And then I just went ahead and gathered some news data about them. And this is what it spit out. So obviously in this last one in July, Fed maintained interest rates as they currently are. Bitcoin, as you can see on the chart that I just showed you, everything kind of dumped. It says Bitcoin definitely dumped too, dropping. And then, yeah, no rate cuts, obviously. Was released on the 30th. And then, yeah, minutes for this meeting haven't been released yet, which is about to be released right now in about 1 minute, funny enough. And then in June, they held the rate steady for the 4th consecutive time. That's kind of an interesting piece of information. Most participants saw some reduction in Fed fund rates this year as appropriate. So we'll see here in the next, not this minutes, but the next FOMC meeting, if that's going to be the case or not. And then, yeah, it just basically shoots out a bunch of context for them. Additional context here, which is pretty good. And it is 11 a.m. Pacific time. So let's see if we're going to get any reaction to this news. The FOMC minutes drop. Let me see if we do. Not a whole lot happening. We are just under yesterday's low of day. We pretty much started at yesterday's low of day and haven't really been able to reach it because we just dumped. And then we did have a nice increase back up. And yeah, I don't know. We're not getting a whole lot of movement for now. Are you guys seeing anything interesting on your charts? And yeah, I did just say here that obviously they're going to be released today, as they just were. And once we get some news in here, maybe we can ask our AI assistant Sidekick if it has anything to say about it. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Is there anything here in 640 SPY calls? Interesting. 640 is about, almost yesterday's midpoint, as you can see on the previous day's levels chart. Also, while you guys are here, I wanted to drop a link. We are having a sale for the stream specifically. If you can see it flashing across the screen right now, you can see that you can save up to 53% on TrendSpider. Thank you, Space Specialist, for posting that update. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, the FOMC minutes release is pretty much just what they said in the last meeting. So it's generally not anything new, but usually the market does get a bit of a reaction just from, having the official minutes released. I will actually just pull up the PDF and paste it in here for you guys. But definitely take advantage of the sale that we're going on today. It ends at midnight. So if you did want to try out Sidekick, it is going to be the best price you can get on TrendSpider. And all plans do come with some free Sidekick messages, so you can go ahead and mess around with it. Highly recommend it. UVXY going up. Yeah, bearish for stocks. We're getting some dumping on SPY right now. Let's take a look at some other stocks. Let's take a look at NVIDIA coming down. Palantir. Palantir's actually hanging in there pretty good. Palantir's been kind of hype all over social media as it's dumped pretty good from its peak. Had the power earnings gap and it filled that just yesterday pretty good. Palantir had a pretty brutal day yesterday, down about 8, almost 9%. So yeah, let's pull back up SPY here. If you look at the SPY daily chart, you can see we have still held this trend line, and we do have some Fed minutes on the news feed right here. Let me maximize this. Says participants also noted it would take time to have more clarity on the magnitude and persistence of higher tariffs, effects on inflation. They're saying impact of tariffs has become more apparent in goods prices, but overall effects on economy, inflation remain to be seen. But instead of just reading this all by ourselves, let's go ahead and just ask TrendSpider's AI Sidekick what is going on. So let me type this. Take a look at the FOMC minutes that were just released today and let me know how you think it will affect the markets and the next interest rate decision. And today, just so it knows, today it was very timely. So I'm going to say 8/20/2025, and let's send this in. I'm just going to go back to, let's use Simon the data dude because he's always about the data. No, let's just use neutral analyst this time. I just want to get kind of a neutral reading on what just happened today on our minutes. Go back to the 15-minute. SPY has not really liked the FOMC minutes drop so far, or it was just kind of overextended intraday. We did have a pretty good snapback from the bottom there, which is interesting. But let's see what our sidekick has to say about it. Again, the FOMC minutes releases the stuff that has pretty much already happened. So let's see. Here's his analysis. Almost all participants in the last meeting viewed it as appropriate to maintain the benchmark interest rate. Committee noted it would take time to gain clarity on the magnitude and persistence of higher tariffs on effects on inflation. Let's see. The current target range for the federal funds rate may not be far above its neutral level. Okay. Fed staff, real GDP reflection remains similar. So let's see what it says for the market. The minute suggests the Fed is maintaining a cautious approach while acknowledging several factors that can influence their next move, with rate cut potentials, of course, tariff concerns. And yeah, definitely tech stocks under pressure. As you can see, the SPY itself is just declining. And then, yeah, they definitely did mention some tariff concerns as a major focus. That is definitely true. Pretty good insight here. Let's see what it says about, let's just read the summary too. The minutes suggest the Fed is preparing for a shift toward monetary easing, which is rate cuts, which is definitely true. Because if we pull up the total volume, the poly market indicator, I should have the Fed decision in September up right here. As you can see, let's see if it's changing at all. Let me pull up the daily chart of SPY so you can see. Yeah, so ever since the top of SPY, according to the betting odds, as far as the Fed decision in September, everyone's still expecting a decrease. There's about a 70% chance that we're gonna get a 25 basis point decrease, but it has been declining a little bit, and no change has been coming up. So since the top, that has pretty much exactly marked the top as those rate cut odds are declining. So was the market. So that is basically saying that the market is following the chance of a 25 basis points decline, which is interesting. Obviously, in theory, rate cuts are good for the market, good for the economy. You can borrow money cheaper. But as you can see, the SPY has been holding this uptrend. We have been bearish, honestly, for not very long. I feel like a lot of people have been saying, I mean, a lot of people are in these big tech stocks like Palantir, which obviously down 20% is not fun from the top. But, you know, in the SPY's case, we're still most definitely in an uptrend. We've seen maybe a 2% decline. If we wanted to see an actual correction, we'd have to go down to like 10%, which would be like 584 down there, which would be close to this gap down here that we have yet to fill. So that is definitely something interesting to watch. But is there anything out there that you guys are watching that's interesting that I'm maybe missing? Yeah, the PPI definitely has them concerned. Since you brought it up, let's go ahead and ask Sidekick about that. Let's say, what do you think of the most recent PPI release? It came in pretty hot. How would that affect the market and the Fed's rate cut decisions going forward? And something I'm going to do too, I'll put just one paragraph of text and some bullet points. Keep it concise. Just because you can pretty much, if you guys haven't really played with AI yet, like ChatGPT or whatever, the way you prompt it is very important. And so you can have it output exactly what you want to see. And this one is really quick. So as you can see, it says the July PPI came in much hotter than anticipated at 3.3% year over year against that 2.5% estimate, which is quite large, you guys. That is not a good sign. And so let's see what it says. Key implications. It says rate cut timelines likely delayed. So the surprising inflation surge may force the Fed to adopt a more cautious approach to rate cuts, potentially reducing the size of anticipated cuts, which is probably, yeah, it's basically what happened right here. Came out in July, and that's, yeah, because the Fed interest rate decision is highly based on inflation, and PPI is a measure of inflation, the producer price index, similar to the consumer price index or the CPI. And if inflation is too high, they want to match interest rates with inflation to keep prices steady. So obviously their goal is around the 2% range for CPI. The Fed likes to use PCE a lot, but generally 2% is their goal, and 3.3% is much above that goal. So honestly, like cutting rates here, according to PPI at least, I know CPI is a little bit cooler. Here, let's do this. Compare recent PPI readings to CPI readings and tell me what they mean. I'll put the results in a nice table and explain them in one paragraph. So you guys, you can just use this to do all this research for you. You don't have to go out and do all this stuff yourself anymore with TrendSpider Sidekick. I mean, if I didn't have this, I'd have to be going on Google, searching this stuff up, manually typing in, recent CPI, recent PPI. But, Sidekick just makes it so easy. As you can see right here, I outputted a nice table like I asked it to. So you can see most recent was 3.3% versus the estimate, and CPI was 2.7, which is, a bit lower. But as you can see, they're all pretty much plus, 0.2% plus 9% year over year changes. So it actually has another chart down here too. This is really cool. So this is PPI year over year, and then CPI year over year. That is interesting, but let's see what it says. The divergence between PPI and CPI reveals a critical economic dynamic. While CPI came in slightly below expectations at 2.7%, PPI came in at 3.3. That's a gap. And it says that businesses are absorbing higher input costs rather than fully passing them to consumers, potentially probably due to tariffs. Presents a dilemma for the Fed as the subdued CPI supports case for cuts, while hot PPI says pretty much the opposite. So yeah, that's why the Fed kind of have a hard job right now about whether or not they're going to cut, but obviously they probably are going to cut. So yeah, there's some good insight from the sidekick right there. Let's see. And then someone asked about the recent cut that just happened right now. This is Sidekick's analysis for whoever was just asking about it. Jack, Michael. Here's the quick summary. The FOMC Minutes suggests the Fed is preparing for a shift toward monetary policy easing, which is rate cuts, but they're also balancing concerns about tariff-induced inflation. So basically, they're shifting towards a cut, but they're keeping into account tariffs as a risk. And basically, markets appear cautious in front of this. As you can see, we have been declining before this FOMC Minutes release. And then we do have the next FOMC meeting next month that we'll be live for, which should be a good watch. Long XAU, someone is saying. That's gold, isn't it? Let's just type. I use GLD for gold. Let's take a look at gold. Yeah, I mean, gold has been, just basing, breaking out, basing, breaking out, basing. Maybe it's going to base and break out again. I don't know. It's already done it many, many times here. I had a long base right here all the way from 2020 to 2024. It was flat, but then it broke out and it has not looked back ever since. Pretty fun chart, actually, when it comes to breakout trading. Let's just draw the pivot levels here on all these breakout levels. And yeah, we already have that line up there. So base, breakout, consolidate, breakout, and then we're basing up again here. So it's definitely preparing for gold here. It's definitely preparing for a move to either direction. It's already broken out several times. So if it's to the upside again, who knows? Maybe it's already pricing in that increased inflation. I am not sure. What else are y'all looking at today, though? Has to be some other stuff going on. I know Target actually had some interesting news this morning. I believe their CEO is being replaced by, I think it was the COO. And actually have a pretty baller prompt for earnings that I will show you guys. It's kind of long, as I tell you guys. You're going to want to, prompt. The better you prompt AI, the better your results are going to be. But this is basically saying, here, I'll just send it in while we wait. But I'm just saying, what is going on with the Target? As you can see, it had a gap down this morning. It did have earnings. And then I'm going to have it output a bunch of stuff for us, basically a brief summary, including the exact earnings, time and date, whether it beat or missed, and then guidance. And then, yeah, you'll see. It's going to have a nice table comparing Target to its competitors and all this stuff. You see it's a pretty intricate prompt there. Again, you don't have to go this crazy with the prompts, but the better your prompt, the better the output. And as you can see, Target declined quite a bit this morning. So I wanted to ask it what was going on. And so here is what we got. It says Target reported their Q2 2025 earnings today, pre-market. Posted EPS of $2.05, beating estimates of $2.03 by 0.99%, which is a 20% decrease. Guidance was about on par, but warned about short-term tariff pressure. There is FOMC Minutes, sir, trades a lot. Not the meeting, the minutes. And yeah, they just dropped about 17 minutes ago. Did it do? And then, yeah, it says the company also announced a new CEO will become effective February 1st, 2026, which is obviously a bit from now. But as you can see, it output a nice table for us for these target earnings, the actual EPS there, and the estimate, surprise, and change. So as you can see, they beat estimates, the analyst estimates, the surprise number, but year over year, they are declining. And if you go ahead and look at the target chart, it is trading very, very low. It's basically hit its COVID lows. It's actually kind of insane. Let's do some competitive analysis here. It automatically pulled its competitors. It pulled Walmart, Costco, and Kroger. And let's take a look here. So Target's PE ratio right now is 10.88. That is kind of insane. Notice the earnings widget metrics, 3D change. Everything doesn't often match what I see elsewhere. Earnings are weird. That's what I have to say about that. I feel like earnings data is different when you look on Google, when you look on all these different sources. And it's just based on, the analyst expectations, because, like the beat and change percent is kind of based on analyst expectations, which can be construed a little bit differently across data. You guys, FOMC meeting is not today. It was the FOMC meetings drop. So, but Powell will be live on Friday. We're going to be live for that. He's going to be live at the Jackson Hole meeting. So that's when Powell will be live. But today was the meetings drop. But anyway, kind of back to Target here. Target does have the lowest PE ratio, as it should, considering it's trading this low. And we have this beautiful table right here. And honestly, something I didn't realize was how much lower market cap wise Target was to its competitors like Costco and Walmart. Like, I knew Walmart was a beast, and so is Costco, but I didn't think they were, that much bigger. And as you can see, Costco, I mean, they do 268 billion in revenue, which is, about 2.5 times Target. But they're trading way like 10 times higher market cap wise, as you can see in their price to sales ratio. Costco's sitting at 178, and Target's very low at 0.42, and the P ratio is the biggest change at 62 basically for Costco, only 10 for Target. So let's look at the bull and bear case now. I mean, this prompt honestly just keeps getting better. Like, it has so much awesome data here. Competitive analysis, whether they beat or miss, the guidance, everything you could possibly want to know about this earnings report. You can just ask and get it right here. And by the way, guys, this is not pulling from the internet of just garbage data. This is all real data from actual like filings and data that we pay a lot of money for for TrendSpider. So you can be pretty sure. I mean, obviously LLMs can hallucinate, but you can be fairly sure that this stuff is, very, very accurate data. And so the bull case for Target, and if you can see here, it is trading very low right now. So if you're a value investor, this might be something to look into. So the bull case, Target continues to beat earnings despite challenging environment. Beat earnings is in a sense of surprise over analysts. They are, dipping year over year, as you can see there. But they beat the expectation, which is fine. Guess they're having a gross margin decline. Oh, the gross margin decline is slowing. That's something that you probably wouldn't have found without this. Digital sales growth remains an opportunity area because they invest in the online platform. And then, of course, the 10 PE ratio is considered bullish if you're a value investor. In the bear case, obviously, sales declined in Q2. They have been declining to show weakness. Gross margin compression continues from 30% to 29% year over year, despite efforts to improve. Tariff pressures, of course, and the CEO leaving. And then obviously competition from Walmart and Amazon continues to intensify, obviously in the digital space primarily. Pull up the chat here. Yeah, accounting methods too. Good call, James. Good call. So yeah, Target stock has fallen significantly concerning the CEO transition, which is never really that good of a sign. They sort of beat estimates. I mean, it's really not looking great, guys, but that's how the markets are. The stock is trading super low PE. Guidance is okay, not looking amazing. So, got to take everything these days with a grain of salt. But with Sidekick AI, I just did so much research with just one prompt, you guys. Like, honestly, like you probably would have spent hours just reading the SEC filing for all this stuff. But with Sidekick, you have it all beautifully right there. Tomix, I am not sure what you're saying long on, but if you have a ticker that you want me to look at, definitely let me know. And again, guys, if you wanted to try out this new Sidekick feature, use the link that I just posted in the chat right now. It's trendspider.cc/YT live promo. Gold, long or short? Everyone's looking at gold. Let's see. Let's ask TrendSpider AI. Let's pull up my GLD chart right now. And I'm going to go ahead and remove all these lines real quick, all these segments. And I'm going to say, give me your analysis of gold. Take into account inflation data like CPI and PPI plus interest rate decisions from the Fed. Do a complete analysis of gold itself and mark up my GLD current chart with key technical levels to watch out for and any recent news. Let's go ahead and see what Sidekick has to say. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take a look at the Palantir right after I take a look at gold right here, because everyone seems to be wanting to see about gold, which is valid. That PPI number came in hot. Everyone's, gold is the inflation hedge, or at least it should be the inflation hedge. So let's see what Sidekick has to say. It is kind of weird because GLD is just a gold ETF, and I asked it about gold. So we'll see what it has to say. I'm actually not quite sure. It'll probably mark up the GLD chart fine based on technicals, but I'm not sure if it. We'll see what it has to say about gold prices just in general. Yes, we are looking at gold. And yes, it has broken out, as you can see, several times here on the daily chart. And it is basing up right now. If we look at the volume, let me wait for this annotations here. So it did mark a few resistance and support levels. Those look pretty valid, I would say. It marked this 290 support level. That's the previous pivot. It marked the bottom of the channel as the current support, and it marked the top of the channel as the resistance. And it did mark a consolidation zone, which is pretty valid stuff. See what else Sidekick can tell us. So recent, all right, so let's go ahead and pull up, zoom in on this chart right here. So mark the consolidation zone, current support, pretty valid levels right there, I would say. Let's see. Fundamental drivers for gold. Recent data suggests inflation fears are returning with PPI coming hotter, as we know. We just talked about that quite a bit. Oh, a polled in Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey showed inflation expectations rising to 4.9. So hotter inflation data, of course. Let's see. Central bank demand. Strong purchasing from global central banks continues to support prices is interesting. Let's see. Investment sentiment. Let's see what the outlook says. Gold likely to continue consolidating in its range while testing the upper resistance. It's probably a fair assumption. Upcoming Fed decision in September will be crucial. Rate cut, it says, will likely be bullish for gold. That kind of makes sense to me, because if they cut the rates, then that means inflation could potentially run higher, because higher rates is meant to reduce inflation. So definitely watch for further inflation data, of course. And yeah, that's interesting. That's a decent, solid take from the Sidekick, saying Fed decision in September will be crucial, saying a rate cut would probably be bullish for gold. And medium term, bullish case supported by rate cuts again, central bank demand, and inflation concerns. Obviously, inflation is just, high inflation is theoretically good for gold, which is an inflation hedge. Let's see. Key risks include potential resolution of geopolitical tensions and stronger than expected economic data. And honestly, the summaries are generally really good, you guys, and just AI in general. So it says gold is showing strong technical and fundamental support at current levels. Consolidation pattern near all-time highs with strong institutional buying suggests the potential for continuation, especially if the Feds begin cutting rates. Key catalysts to watch are inflation data, Fed policy decisions, and geopolitical developments. Honestly, that is a great analysis. I'm not going to lie. I probably wouldn't have thought about that, most of those things. That is really solid. But, you can see the price of gold has been pretty high up there. It's been consolidating. Honestly, let me put on chart patterns. Is somewhat of an upward trend line there. Yeah, it's an okay trend line. Let's see. Thank you, Gold Curtain. I appreciate your insight. I am pointless. Let's see. Palantir. Someone asked about Palantir. Let's see. So came down and filled that earnings gap. And it is down how much from the top? Dropped about 25%, now down about 20%. That's a pretty significant decline. Let's plot a key level here. That's the top of the gap there and a consolidation of the breakout. And this previous pivot level right here, give or take around this area, it did just bounce off of. So 145 is probably a key level there. I'm going to go ahead and draw a fib retracement. I don't know, where should we draw it? We should draw it from like here to there. 61.8 is all the way down at 113, at least from the 2025 low to the most recent high. We could do it a little bit differently, a little bit more recent, see if we have any closer fib levels here. We'll start from the high there. Yeah, that's not going to be very useful. Let's do maybe here. 61.8% from this level is broken. There, not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Palantir is an interesting one. Obviously, the valuation is pretty extended. If I pull up my PE ratio, let's see what it's sitting at. PE ratio, let me put this down on the bottom here. Where did that go? PE ratio, I'm going to plot this on my lower axis just so we can read it a little bit better. Yeah, 289 for the trailing PE ratio. Probably a good dip buy, honestly, if you're just playing it on the support level. Momentum is definitely falling, but really, really high volume today. Obviously, this is not something you want to look at from a valuation perspective that much with a 289 PE ratio. I mean, it's had an elevated PE ratio for a very long time now, and it's been nothing but ripping. Because of the excellent revenue growth, I mean, it just continues to smash earnings. Let me go ahead and pull up Sidekick again. Do a deep dive into Palantir for me. Analyze the fundamentals compared to its top competitors. And it's going to automatically pull the top competitors for me. one of the most awesome things about this is it kind of does a lot of the work for you. You got in at 145.50 this morning. That's a solid level. I mean, solid trade probably. I mean, I don't know if you're planning to set a stop somewhere below and just play, I don't know, a bounce, but yeah, we'll see. It's really hard one to say how much lower it's going to go. We just had earnings. They smashed earnings. It was really good. Let's see what Sidekick has to say compared to its top competitors. Compare valuation metrics like P/E ratio, price to sales ratios, revenue, and overall market cap, revenue, and put them into a nice table and give me bull and bear case for the company. And for this analyst type, I'm going to go ahead and use Simon the data dude because he focuses a lot more on data and charts. Let's just see what this has to say. Yeah, Palantir itself down 20%. If you're playing this level for a dip buy, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. But as far as valuation is concerned, obviously it's valued quite high. So hard to say. I will say though, the volume there is very, very strong. And everyone keeps still asking about gold. Whoops. So gold support is definitely, I would consider the gold support. Yeah, probably around this 300 or 300 to 290 are actually very crucial supports. Just watch this consolidation range, you guys. I mean, basically, it's going to consolidate and then it's going to break out either to the top or to the bottom. Which way it goes, I'm not going to predict for you because no one knows. I do not know. You do not know. But the way the markets work is that after consolidation periods like this, you're going to probably get a strong volume breakout either to the upside, which you could play, or to the downside, which you could play. Just depends on your trading style. You could try to buy the supports at 300 to 290 and hope, or even here, and just hope that it breaks out to the upside. But if you're bearish on gold, then I don't know. I don't really short stocks in general. Definitely not gold, but I guess you could play it here and wait for it to break the level to the downside and then try to set a stop and profit. If you're shorting, maybe set a stop, above the upside breakout, a little bit higher, so you give yourself some room if it's a fake breakout. If you go long, set a stop below these supports down here and just see what happens. I mean, we'll see. For Palantir, let's see what the business overview says here. Palantir was founded in 2003. Yada, yada, yada. Let's see this comparison table. So it pulled Microsoft, CRM, Oracle, Now, and IBM. That's interesting. And see the P ratio for Palantir is obviously the highest. Market cap for Palantir is pretty much one of the lowest out of its competitors that it pulled. Gross margin is really good on Palantir, 80.8%. Pretty much the best out of all the competitors, is the best. Even then compared to Microsoft. Return on equity is a little bit on the lower side. Well, still good. Kind of in the midpoint between these competitors that it saw. Next month, rate cut or not, there's a 70% chance of a rate cut. Yeah, around 70, 85%, whatever. If we look at the poly market odds, we can see exactly what it is. As you can see right here, the chance of a rate cut is declining, but it's still the expected outcome at 69.5% based on betting odds on poly market. So yes, there's probably going to be a rate cut next month. At least a 70% chance there is. So we'll see. And according to Sidekick, that is probably bullish for gold. So take that as you will. Market could already be pricing it in. But if we do see a rate cut, maybe we'll see a spike up in gold, get a breakout. Yes, today, the FOMC minute minutes were released. But yeah, obviously, Sidekick is saying kind of the same thing here. Extremely high valuation. Everybody knows that. Good profit margins, 32.6%, it says. Yeah, very good compared to its competitors. Let's see here. P ratio comparison. This is a kind of a funny chart. Palantir's P ratio is just insane compared to all the other ones. But so is the gross margin. So is the revenue growth is insane. They're expanding their commercial business, which accounts for 45% of its 2024 revenue. Let's see. Bear case for Palantir is extreme valuation, obviously, customer concentration risk. A lot of its revenue comes from a small number of large customers, which is interesting. Political sensitivity with government contracts, that is a risk for sure. So yeah, overall it says high risk, high reward investment opportunity, but it's a high valuation. I mean, substantial price and substantial future growth. I mean, it's kind of just the Tesla story all over again. There is a lot of room for growth if they continue to execute well, but if the fundamentals, if the revenue growth starts declining, the EPS starts going out of whack, then the price is probably going to take a massive hit. I'm not going to tell you to long or short anything, Ready. I'm sorry. I'm not your financial advisor, but I will help you chart stuff and give you my opinion for whatever it is worth. Let's take a look at the SPY on the intraday chart here. So we got the minutes release right around there at the pretty much marked the top of the SPY intraday. Came down to the intraday volume point of control right there, which is acting as support. And we're going back up a little bit since then. XAAUSD. So let's see. Or XAUSD. Is this the right one here? Maybe it's just. So this is spot gold right here. This is nice. Okay. So if you want to look at spot gold on the platform, James has recommended this XAUUSD, little caret in front, is the spot gold price, which is pretty nice. But if I kind of just look at the overall trend here, we see, not sure if this is sort of like a triangle. I mean, it's really just this level right there. And yeah, consolidation, you guys. It's going to consolidate for a while. The longer it consolidates, most likely the higher or the more violent the breakout is going to be. So that's what you want to really look out for. You know, if you're going for a long trade, maybe go long now or wait for the breakout if you want. And if it does break out to the upside, you're good. But if it obviously fails, then just use a stop loss. Get out. I mean, that would be my advice, I guess. And we look at the intraday chart here. I don't think the volume by price is probably necessary. But yeah, gold spiked up, you guys, on this release, or it just spiked up today in general. You can see these are the previous day's levels indicator. Let me go to the 5 minutes so I can see. It's a little weird. So this was this morning, right around here. So yeah, we're pretty much at yesterday's high right now, which is interesting. So we'll see how gold reacts here. I think as you can see, it's been consolidating for quite a while now. So I think it's probably just going to end up waiting for the next FOMC announcement on gold. Hello from Indonesia. Glad to have you in here. Yeah, guys. And again, the FOMC meetings, the FOMC minutes are just pretty much the summary of what they discussed at the last meeting. And if you remember earlier, I did plot the FOMC minutes and previous meetings on my chart here. And if you just zoom out on the SPY chart, look at a technical picture where you're still in an uptrend for sure. We did have, a couple dips here. The last FOMC meeting caused this dip, as you can see, from annotated on the chart right there. And that was also, I believe, the PPI. But then we went up and filled that gap right away. We've pulled back a little bit right to the trend line. So yeah, bulls, you're going to be looking to hold this trend line for sure. And then we have Powell speaking on Friday as well, which I would definitely tune in. We're going to be live for that. He's going to be speaking live at the Jackson Hole meeting. So that will definitely give us some good insight of what will lie ahead for the markets. We can also take a look at crypto here. Crypto really didn't have that much movement, to be honest. Let's see Bitcoin on the longer term chart. Yeah, I mean, still holding support levels, basically. If you draw these horizontal lines right here, say there's a support, kind of a range right here. If anything, I'd want to draw this range. See, this is kind of like your support level that you want to hold anywhere from like 108 to 112. But you see on the daily candle, crypto has been bouncing off the top of this range. So that is definitely what I'd be watching on the crypto markets. Nothing crazy there. Nothing crazy there. Let's put this back down. Something also, you guys, that I found very interesting. If we add our seasonality to our chart here, specifically on QQQ is a really good one. I'll just go ahead and put this into a new column. Yeah, we have pretty bad seasonality coming up. Let me see, for 26 years, yeah, we're gonna do monthly. Thought it was worse than this. Let me go to some recent times, but as you can see, August and September generally have not been so great as far as seasonality goes. Actually, September is one of the worst months over the last 26 years. Let's go to like 2014. Yeah, if you go to even like more recent times, that is insane. Look at that September seasonality, you guys. Like, it's almost never been positive. Only 27% of the time it's been positive since 2014 on the QQQ in September. So that is, I think that's a really, really interesting data point, you guys. You go ahead and pull up the monthly chart. Let me delete this real quick. So if we look at September day or September months, should see mostly red candles. So that one was green. This one over here, pretty bad. September 2023. September 2024 isn't bad. Yeah, September 2022 is pretty much the low of the market. That was interesting. 2021 September was also red. I mean, look at that. It was like one of the only red months in 2021, running up to the end of 2021, which started the 2022 bear market. Very interesting. In 2020, it was also red. Also one of the only red months in 2020. And that was like the massive COVID bull market starting in like March. So pretty crazy. September 2018 was basically the start of that 2018 correction. So yeah, I would not sleep on the seasonality number. I would keep this in mind going into September, especially since we have FOMC rate decision where there's potentially a rate cut incoming. So let's see how it looks on SPY also. I think SPY looked pretty bad. Yeah, look at that. Even SPY, 36% seasonality was red for SPY in September. Let's check IWM small caps. Bad again. The Dow Jones, bad. All the major indexes, you guys, have had really bad Septembers over the last 12 years. Really, even the last like 20 years. But specifically over the last since 2014 has been very, very bad. So I thought that was a pretty interesting metrics there. What we can also take a look at today is I have the recent power gap scanner. I want to take a look at, see if anything is popping up here worth a look. Dutch Bros. This was a pretty popular one. Did have a gap up for earnings, and it is filling that gap to the downside. Can take off seasonality now, but I mean, the revenue growth looks pretty insane. EPS pretty good. Might have UNH. Yeah, obviously UNH. Oh, this is something I also did on Sidekick, you guys. I had to plot the 5 most recent market moving news events onto the UNH chart. And as you can see, it did it perfectly. Started with a Q1 earnings miss right here. Massive gap down. They had the DOJ investigation there, the CEO stepping down, just multiple gaps down that Sidekick was able to easily just go ahead and plot right on my chart for me. And literally all I did was I typed mark the most recent UNH market moving news events on my chart starting in April 2025. And if you just do that with your new UNH chart open, it'll do exactly this right here. I did it in the Sidekick video. We do have a video released on our YouTube and X account that you guys can go take a look at if you're interested in learning more. And then, yeah, Buffett and Burry took stakes right here. As you can see, had a massive move up. So very interesting stock here. Is there anybody out there in the audience that is in UNH here? Flyer dump when the FOMC release. Yeah, minutes usually don't do anything that crazy. Yeah, Palantir has not been having a good time. But honestly, it's been, I mean, I'd say that's a pretty strong day. Obviously, it's down from yesterday's close, but I mean, look at that candle, man. That is really good. That is really good buying volume there. However, the buying volume here, look at this. The selling volume is a lot more aggressive than the buying volume. The volume has been decreasing over time here. If you want to see, ideally, you'd want to see, you know, higher buying volume. The volume has just been decreasing all day. So we'll see if this rally holds up. Should be interesting to watch. What else are you guys looking at other than Palantir and gold, if anything? OUST, our CEO, Dan Ushman, has been pretty bullish on this for quite a while, and it's been working out pretty well for him, as you can see. EPA, the revenue growth has been pretty insane. If I maximize this, they've beat earnings pretty much every time revenue-wise, change percentage-wise. Oscar, yeah, Oscar I don't think has been doing that well. Well, it's been consolidating. Has been consolidating. Let's see. Obviously, earnings look pretty good. Last revenue of quarter did have a negative surprise. And then, yeah, pretty not so great EPS, which is why it's kind of been hurt for now. Let me check out what they're trading at. Like, do they have EV to sales? Yeah, they're sitting at pretty low EV to sales ratio still. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a bad move. I think it could consolidate until next earnings, just to see what happens, just because that last earnings report was not super ideal, it looks like. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. We'll see. I don't know. Let's see how low. I mean, they have support definitely around the 11 level right there. So I think if you can snag some at 11 or even 10 or lower, that would be ideal. I personally would probably expect it to consolidate going into next earnings, maybe have a run up before then. But I think right now it's like more of a hold, in my opinion. Let's see. Oscar, OKLO, SoFi. SoFi has been interesting. Yeah, SoFi has been really interesting, actually. EV sales decent. Let's see. Pull up the daily chart. Yeah, so they consolidated here, dipped, and then they had this breakout. They've really been consolidating this range. They had a couple fake breakouts here, which is not the best sign. They always kill it on earnings, though. So I think from a fundamental perspective, SoFi is definitely very good. But they are definitely having trouble breaking their recent highs here around the 25 level. As you can see, that's where probably a lot of bag holders were in, and they're finally getting to break even here. And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to sell out. I think that's what's keeping it down. But as far as the company itself, the fundamentals look great. The EPS looks great. I would consider it a hold, maybe not a buy at these levels, maybe wait for a pullback. That is my opinion. But as long as a company maintains good fundamentals, you guys, it's generally good to buy as it comes down and then ride the waves up. And as you can see, SoFi has pretty much killed earnings constantly, went profitable around 2024. And look what happened right after it went profitable. I mean, it just broke out. Obviously, it's going to be volatile. You know, it had this pretty decent, it had a massive fake breakout right here and then proceeded to dip 50%. So, I mean, prepared. It's a smaller cap stock, like a mid cap. So prepare to go through some swings, but just get the best price possible you can. I think you're probably better off waiting at this point. Has come down a bit, but yeah, maybe you'll just consolidate in this 18 to 25 range for a while. Maybe you can get in lower down here. ZETA. ZETA is interesting. Pretty solid revenue growth. It had this spike up and it's came down pretty good over here. Check the daily. Yeah, I mean, it's making higher lows. Had a power earnings gap, had a power gap there, power gap there. Say overall, this looks bullish just at a first glance for sure. For sure. I mean, fundamentals seem intact. It's making higher lows, and it does have some pretty decent upside potential, it looks like. You know, obviously, you probably wouldn't have wanted to get in. This is kind of like a critical level right here, this 1363 level. If you were able to snag down there, that is awesome. Or you got on the breakout, that's fine too, if you're prepared to hold. But it does have some decent potential upside here, I would say. You know, if you expect to get maybe there, say your stop, I don't know, maybe even that low would be kind of a lot. Wherever you think, maybe under this level, I'd say that's a decent risk to reward play, depending on how high you think it'll go. And if the fundamentals hold up, I think it would be solid. What else we got going? Let's check out how the Qs are doing today. I always default to SPY, but let's see what's good with the Qs. What is this? Like Fibonacci's or something here. Looks like these are kind of old fibs at this point. Let's just move it up. Yeah, not much going there. Remove that. Yeah, it doesn't look like Qs has retraced quite as bit as SPY has. As you can see, SPY is like 0.21% off of yesterday's low for it, 0.2%. And Qs is 0.67%. So Qs is definitely not coming back up as quickly as SPY. I'm curious about small caps also. Small caps, yeah. So it looks like the big tech QQQ is reacting the least bullish from the bounce back up, and Dow Jones, which is kind of like the value stocks, has really not done a whole lot. It's been hanging in there pretty well. Rarely look at charts of the DIA, to be honest. Wow, that's a pretty decent level though. It's all-time high right here. But it's hanging in there a lot better than SPY and QQQ, I will say that. So definitely people are probably rotating into gold, into defense stocks like this. I believe I also have, let me pull up a map real quick. And I do have a watch list of the sector ETFs that I like to take a look at. Yeah, sector ETFs, Mike, which is the list I made. So I'm going to put this into my bubble chart. Let's see what's going on. So here I have 7-day calendar change. So 30-day calendar change. So everything towards the top is doing the best over the last 30 days. Healthcare. Interesting. Yeah, healthcare has been, well, I guess not that interesting with UNH and NVO and all those spiking right back up. Healthcare has been on the move the most for the last month and the last 7 days. And then XLP consumer staples has also been as I expected, as I just looked at the DIA chart. Has been doing really well. Real estate looks like kind of a sleeper over the last 7 days. It's pretty close to the right over here, XLRE. So over the last 7 days, real estate has been ticking up, maybe because rates potentially getting cut next month. Gold itself has been actually really not as good as the rest of the sectors. Bonds hasn't been doing super hot. TLT will be a really good one to watch. As Powell speaks on Friday. And the worst movers here is semiconductors. See, it kind of drives a lot of the QQQ, and then tech, XLK. So basically what this bubble map is telling us, that XLK, semiconductors, all the tech stocks, not doing good. XLP, consumer staples, XLV healthcare are doing good. Utilities doing okay as well over the last 30 days. Kind of consolidating. So it's more of a risk-off environment, you guys, for sure. That's SPY. Surprisingly, gold is not doing super hot. But it's just been consolidating. I wouldn't say it's doing bad, but the money is flowing into the healthcare sector right now as everyone buys the dip on UNH and NVO, and then consumer staples as well, as everyone just goes risk off. So definitely more of a risk off type of environment, according to this bubble map over the last 30 and 7 days. It's another great thing that you can use here on TrendSpider is our bubble maps. Love to use these, especially for finding strength in sectors like I just did for you guys right here. You can just use like a sector ETF list. Oh, interesting. I have Bitcoin on there. Where's Bitcoin? Let me color tag it so we can see it. Interesting. I don't know where it is. It's hiding somewhere. Maybe because it's crypto, it's not showing. I don't know. Anyway, that was the bubble map. Let's see. What else? Yeah, SMH down 1.5% today. It's the worst sector on the day. And if we pull up something like NVIDIA, not doing super great. Obviously, Palantir is dumping. How's AMD doing? AMD probably doing a little bit better. Has somewhat of a double bottom right here, I would say. Intel's an interesting one recently because the Trump administration recently pumped it, saying they're potentially investing in it, taking a stake in it, because they want to, bring a lot of the manufacturing for chips to the U.S. What else do we got here? Kind of want to ask Sidekick about Intel. Give me some analysis on Intel based on the recent news and price jump it had. Mark, key technical zones on my chart and tell me what you think of the company as an investment from here. Also compare its valuation metrics like PE, PS, market cap, margin, and revenue on a table. I'll put only bullet points for the analysis and a table, less words, more data. So let's see what we can find out about Intel right here. The FOMC minutes was just pretty much saying that Fed officials were saying probably going to do monetary easing, aka cut rates next month, but they're also worried about potential tariff inflation, obviously with the hot PPI report potentially signaling issues there. But yeah, basically signaling that we're likely getting a rate cut next month is what the minutes was saying. And it's, again, you guys, the minutes is basically just summarizing what they said in the last meeting. But this is some interesting, like it marked this zone right here from obviously 20 to 25. I think that's pretty accurate. Let's see. It's interesting. Investment outlook, short term, volatile with potential oversupply of shares from restructuring, but supported by government interests, of course. You do a 50% reduction in workforce. Risk factors include, let's see, negative margins and cash flow. Yeah, those margins are actually, the net margin is pretty bad. Medium term, long term. Let's see, success in 18x, LP10's restructuring plan. So they have the restructuring plan, but they do have the implementation of the government equity stake plan and potential benefit from protectionist policies. So I guess it's kind of turned political for Intel at this point, whether or not they can get that government funding. I believe they did actually implement it too, but they obviously went up to the last resistance point there at 25 and came right back down. Kind of the good old Trump pump and dump scheme going on there. So we'll see. You know, Intel fundamentally does not look very good in general, especially not compared to, you know, NVIDIA and AMD and all these other big chip companies. So really the only thing going for them realistically is the government funding. It sounds like. So I don't know. It's not my favorite play, but it is a play, I guess. But again, companies like AMD and NVIDIA just looks a lot better on paper, mostly NVIDIA. I mean, it's hard to bet against NVIDIA. If you look at the P ratio. P ratio is getting a little bit up there, like around the 50 range for NVIDIA. But with that, that's still not bad compared to, like, you know, Palantir and whatnot, based on how much it's growing its revenue and its future plans to grow its revenue. So, you know, pretty solid. But is there anything else you guys want me to ask our Sidekick AI? Anything you want me to, you know, show? But we have been live for about an hour now. Probably will cut it soon. Market didn't move a ton from the minutes to take anything away. It's be ready for the next FOMC meeting next month, and then definitely tune in for our live for Powell during the Jackson Hole meeting on Friday morning, pretty early. But yeah, the SPY itself is just still in an uptrend, you guys. You know, the PPI not looking good, caused this downward movement, but overall, I would stick to what the charts are saying. And for now, it looks like we're still in a solid uptrend. All good, Monkey Man. We're about to wrap it up, though, honestly. See, RKLB, this is a very interesting one. See, it's sort of like a cup and handle breakout. RKLB, Rocket Lab. Seems like the fundamentals of it are still pretty solid. And it's just coming down. It broke out from here. It's probably just a lot of breakout traders probably got in here. Maybe took profit, or maybe you're starting to get stopped out here as they trade under the breakout level. I would want to see the 21-week EMA. It's kind of a level that I use a lot for pullback entries. I don't know. I think the 21-week EMA is generally a pretty good thing to watch out for after these breakout entries, and then when they come down. So I would look out for this 35 level personally in RKLB. So if you were to buy now, maybe expect to hold down until then or wait. Depends on how bullish you are on the company itself. I don't have a super strong opinion on them, but the risk to reward isn't bad if you were to take it here, but obviously it would be better if you were to get in, you know, like at this level instead of stop kind of in there. That would be my take. I think it's a healthy pullback for sure. Just after that breakout. And it probably could be a good buying opportunity coming on up. Once you said he broke 41, you said, yeah. Any insights on gold? Again, kind of did my take on gold. It's been consolidating and basing for a while now. It had a consolidation, breakout, consolidation, and breakout, and it's doing the same thing here. So whenever a stock is consolidating like this, you gotta probably want to take a macro take on it, whether you're bullish or bearish. Maybe you think, rate cuts and this higher inflation are bullish for gold. Maybe you go long and try to aim for a breakout, but then set a stop below this consolidation range. That was my take on it. With inflation, PPI increasing, I don't think it's bad, but I think it also could most definitely be priced in since it's already broken out like 3 times. I have kind of a rule where I try to not enter stuff on breakouts. We already had 2 successful ones, and we're going on the 3rd now. So it's that's going to make it, in my opinion, a little bit harder to continue up. But you never know. You never know. Yeah, there's a 70% chance that we're going to get a rate cut next month. According to Polymarket odds, Darth Drew, 71% actually just went up a little bit. Or maybe not. No, 69.5% hasn't really changed. So about 70% chance of a rate cut for next meeting. Yeah, as far as gold too, look at this 21-week EMA. I mean, it's bounced off of it quite a few times. Hasn't quite tested it yet, but I think that could be a good buying opportunity, or at least a level to set maybe a stop. I'd probably set a stop closer down here, far below that consolidation zone, because I mean, if it does break that zone, there's a good chance it's going to do so. Maybe on high volume, continue down. Maybe a sell the news event on the Fed decision, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me check the chat. Yeah. Again, if you guys wanted to sign up for TrendSpider, we do have the best deal you're probably ever going to get going on right now for the stream specifically. If you can't tell with the live ticker tape going across your screen, I just dropped the link for you. It's trendspider.cc/YT live promo. You get up to 53% off. Very good deal. Probably the best deal you will get on the platform. It does make it a little bit cheaper than TradingView's premium plan, which I think is the most comparable one. So it is actually an incredible deal. And we just released our Sidekick AI, which TradingView has nothing like that. We consistently adding more features. We have the entire TrendSpider store. If you guys haven't seen it, we actually have the live hackathon going on right now. You can go check out our store to see the submissions. There's been a ton of people submitting some awesome indicators for a chance to win up to $10,000 in cash prizes, you guys. So if you do have an indicator on TradingView or in PineScript or in ThinkScript, transfer it over to TrendSpider. If you are, well, the registration is closed, but if you did sign up, make sure to submit your indicators. Go take a look at them in the store. They're all completely free to use if you're on TrendSpider. Just click that store page, and it's going to be like the first thing you see. Let's see if I'm pulled up. Yeah, the TrendSpider hackathon. Ton. Wow, there's 4 pages of indicators. Now look at this, you guys. All these are indicators submitted from you guys, the community. I am honestly loving this. All these guys have a chance to win up to $10,000 in prizes. And there's tons of new awesome indicators on the platform now, thanks to you guys. So it's awesome. Yeah, it really is a library. It is a library. And these are all free. All these are free to use. That was one of the rules of the hackathon is you can't charge for these indicators. It has to be free. So if you're on TrendSpider, man, I mean, look at all of these new things to try out. 4 pages of it. And I dropped the link to the store down there. It's going to bring you here. Just click on this one right here, this first link. And also, yeah, just check out all the other indicators. Tons of stuff on there. Strategies, scanners, and indicators. So, yeah, you guys, Very, very awesome stuff. A heat map? I'm assuming you mean, yes, we do have a heat map. It's a very customizable heat map as well. You can do any list of symbols, change the tile size, of course, based on all this different great stuff here. I mean, our scanner is going to be way better than TradingView's because you don't have to use a Pine screener and custom code scans. You can just use visual scripting. We have everything TradingView has, but pretty much more. We don't, limit a lot of the stuff TradingView does. Like you can have up to 16 charts on one layout with us. Now we have all these custom indicators submitted to the store. That was one of the only things TradingView had that was cool that we didn't. But now we have the store and so many indicators being submitted to it, you guys, which is awesome. Now, yeah, the platform is just going to get better thanks to you guys. So love that. Love that. But anyways, guys, it's been a little bit over an hour, so I'm going to call it there. Make sure to take advantage of the 53% off that we're going. It ends at midnight. So if you wanted to upgrade, now today is going to be the time. Try out the new Sidekick AI. It genuinely saves you guys so much time on your analysis. Let's just, I'm going to do this one. Summarize today's biggest market movers and news. Let's just end on this, because this is honestly one of the dopest prompts in my opinion. Oh, see what we get. And this is obviously going to take all the most recent news today and the biggest market movers. Maybe we'll see a stock that we didn't look at today. Honestly, the Fed minutes, market performance there, tech sector pullback, major chip stocks like NVIDIA, MU Intel, TSM trading lower. We saw all those. Bitcoin testing support, ETH pulling back, XRP facing pressure after SEC denied XRP ETF applications, of course. Link. Notable news, we got McDonald's to cut combo meal prices by 15%. Damn, okay. Let's check out McDonald's. Dash, let's see if that did anything to the stock. Because when you're on Sidekick, you can basically just click on all this stuff here and just have it pull up around your chart. So McDonald's, yeah, pulling up, doing really good, actually. DoorDash expanding commerce platform with new tools for restaurants. Not looking good on the day, though. Say they just recently had earnings. Great earnings, actually, but they're coming down from that breakout. TTWO reportedly gutting BioShock Studio after a decade of development. That doesn't sound great. Interesting. MicroStrategy and Palantir are seeing smart money dump stocks popular with retail investors. That sounds like it was just pulling from news. Not a bad time probably to take profit. I know our CEO was recently. I think before the dump, though. I don't know. Let's see. M&A activity. MURA to be acquired by XLMA royalty subsidiary for between 2035 and 224 a share. That's interesting. So yeah, that is the notable news and market movers for today, you guys. It's really just the Fed minutes. They said Fed minutes indicated most participants viewed maintaining interest rates in the 4.25 to 4.5% as appropriate. Concerns about tariffs. I think earlier it said that they're still kind of split, but I think that definitely the majority consensus is that they are going to cut next month. Would be very interesting if they don't. That would definitely cause some volatility because that's not what is expected. It is expected for a rate cut. And yeah, concerns about tariffs were highlighted as potentially delaying rate cuts. So it's a pretty split decision, you guys. It'll be a fun FOMC meeting. I'll see what Powell says on Friday. Yeah, just selling off in chip stocks is the other moral of the story for today. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We will be live on Friday again, 2 times. So definitely tune in for there. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel and our X, go follow us on X and subscribe on YouTube and press the notification bell. So that way you guys get notified somehow when we go live on both YouTube and X, which we always do. But other than that, I will catch you guys on Friday. Thank you for coming. Peace.